Today I'm going to give you some of my tips and tricks for stitching the perfect French knot. We're going to cover how to make a French knot, some common problems and how to avoid them, how you can change the size of your French knots, and to finish up, I'm going to show you how I use them to add texture and dimension to this lovely flower center. So, hoop up your fabric, thread a needle, and let's go. To make a French knot, first bring your needle up through the fabric. Wrap the thread around your needle twice, and while holding the thread taut, go back down into the fabric right next to where you came up. Now, this can be a tricky stitch to get right at first, so let's look at some problems beginners often face. Problem number one, your thread knot's up, great, but not where you want it to. This problem can often be caused by using too long a length of thread. So the solution here is to use a fairly short length of thread and also to keep the tension in your thread while stitching. Problem 2. You make a beautiful French knot and then it pulls through to the other side of the fabric. This is usually caused by going down into the very same hole that you came up from. So the best solution here is just to leave a space next to the hole you came up from. In number 3, you don't even get to the knot stage. Your needle gets stuck as you're trying to go back down through the fabric. Now, the problem here is generally that you've wound your thread a little too tight around the needle. And so the solution is not to wrap the thread so tight around the needle that you can't pull it through again. Problem number 4. Your French knot is kind of loose or wonky, or maybe it's too small or too tight. This is generally also caused by tension. So the solution here is to hold the thread taut, but not too tight. And this takes a while to get the hang of. So really my advice here is to practice, practice, practice. Observe what's happening with different levels of tension and adjust accordingly. Now let's have a look at how we can change the size of our knots. We can do this in 2 ways, either by increasing the number of wraps around the needle or by increasing the number of strands, or a combination of the two. Here I have some different French knots I've made with different numbers of wraps and different numbers of strands. So here, for example, I've made a French knot with 6 strands wrapped around the needle 3 times, and underneath a French knot also made with 6 strands wrapped around the needle twice. As you can see, there's a slight difference in size between the two. Here I've done the same but with 3 strands. So 3 strands wrapped 3 times and 3 strands wrapped 2 times. And here these teeny weeny tiny baby knots are made by using 1 strand wrapped 3 times and 2 times. As you can see, this gives us a little variation in the size of the knot, so you can add some texture. French knots are great for adding texture and dimension to an embroidery project. Here I'm going to show you how I use different sizes of French knots to fill in the center of this satin stitched flower I made in a previous tutorial. I'm starting by filling in the very center of the flower using the biggest knots. So here 3 strands wrapped 3 times. Just a few of them here at the center point. As I'm moving out, I'm decreasing the number of wraps to twice around the needle. Now we're a little further out, I'd like to decrease the size of the knot. So I'm going to use 2 strands now, and I'm wrapping it 3 times. And for these a little further out, I'm wrapping it twice. And finally, to fill in these gaps where the center of the flower meets the petals, I'm going to use 1 strand. And here I'm alternating between using 2 or 3 wraps around the needle. And to blend everything together nicely here at the end, I'm adding a few little 1-strand knots scattered around the petals. And here we have it, one beautiful textured flower center. If you'd like to learn how to create your own realistic colorful thread paintings, I have a whole host of detailed step-by-step patterns available in my Etsy shop, Becky's Embroidery Shop. You can find the link in the description below. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be adding lots more embroidery tutorials and how-tos over the coming months. And if there's anything in particular you'd like me to cover, drop me a comment below to let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time.